Welcome back, folks, to WrestleRant here today. I am Graham Houston Matthews, and in today's video, I'll be reviewing the 2007 installment of Judgment Day as seen on the WWE Network. So kicking off the show, Ric Flair versus Carlito. Nothing on the line. The two had just split up. There really wasn't, there was no video package. I know there was some build to it, and I know Carlito and Flair were doing some Tori Wilson thing. I don't really remember much of it other than that, to be honest with you. But the match was good, though. It was a nice little opener between Flair and Carlito, so I enjoyed it for what it was. And like I said, nothing in the line, no number one contendership, no title. It's kind of a, just a straight up feud match, rivalry match. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. It got a lot of good time. I got about 15 minutes. Carlito looking in there strong against Ric Flair. So nice little matchup. He could have used the win more than Ric Flair did. But, Ric Flair was, tended to lose more often than not in his final few years with WWE. So maybe picking up the win for him, him picking up the win was probably for the better, for him anyway. And Carlito probably got his win back at some other point down the line. But a good match, though. Nice little way of kicking off the show. Up next, a handicap match, a 3-on-1 handicap match for the ECW Championship and a rematch from Backlash. Bobby Lashley taking on T. McMahon, which consisted of Shane Umaga and the then ECW champion, Mr. McMahon. So we had the whole, the video package itself, I think, actually lasted longer than the match, which was pretty funny. I mean, I watched the handicap match at Backlash. It wasn't great or anything like that, but it told the story. It told the story that it needed to tell. With Bobby Lashley taking an insane amount of punishment at the hands of the McMahons, Shane and Vince and Umaga, only to end up losing his ECW championship. We had an exact rematch on this show, the same exact kind of matchup. But what took me by surprise was that it was only a minute long. In the first minute of the match, Bobby Lashley quickly disposed Vince and Umaga from the ring, and then leaving Shane all by himself, all by his lonesome in the ring, for Bobby Lashley to take advantage of him, pick up the win, and seemingly win back the ECW championship. The match was all of a minute long, and again, that took me by surprise because the first one was dragged out. So that was probably for the better too. I would have, probably preferred this method than them go with another boring 3-on-1 handicap matchup. But of course, after the matchup, it was announced that Bobby Lashley, or by Vince himself, he announced that in order to win the ECW championship, he would have to pin Vince himself. So Bobby, in turn, did not win the ECW championship, and Vince retained, but he still picked up the win regardless. So I mean, it was quick, sweet, short, sweet, and to the point. So I cannot really ask for more than that. I'm glad we didn't get another dragged out, boring handicap match, which did not really do anything for me personally at the 06 or the 07 Backlash pay-per-view, so I'm glad it was kind of kept short and sweet. And also on the subject of ECW, CM Punk and Elijah Burke from the Land of Extreme going one-on-one on this show. Again, nothing in the line, but CM Punk just wanted to gain vengeance, I guess, seek retribution against Elijah Burke after the whole ECW Originals versus the New Breed feud. Elijah Burke had recruited CM Punk for like a week. CM Punk turned on them, leading to this match on the pay-per-view. And it's weird, too, because they got about 16 minutes, longer than, Flair and Carlito, obviously longer than the previous match for the ECW Championship. One of the longest matches, I think it was the longest match on this show, longer than any other match on the show, than the 2 world title matches or anything else, which was surprising. And it wasn't that good of a match. I had read reports, I had read articles saying that, even Punk himself has said this, that his matches with Elijah Burke back in 07 were not good at all. Like, his least favorite opponent to work with was Elijah Burke. I don't know if they just didn't get along or they didn't have any chemistry. I mean, it was obvious they didn't have chemistry, because this match, for as much time as they got, was not good. It wasn't horrendous, but, for the matches that Punk is capable of, I made a list of Punk's top 10 worst matches in WWE about a year ago, and even that was hard to write, because there's not many bad CM Punk matches in WWE. The guy was so great. And this match was just not good. I forgot to put this match on the list because I hadn't seen it yet, but after watching it now, I should have. Just not a good match. Just sloppy in spots and never really found a rhythm. Like I said, they just didn't have any chemistry in Punk, which was weird because Punk found chemistry with pretty much everyone that he worked with, even a Big Show or a Kane. Those kind of matches weren't even that bad. But yeah, this was not good at all. Punk and Elijah Burke, a very disappointing match, I guess, because I like Elijah Burke. I think the guy's an incredible athlete, but I don't know. I think it's just a lack of in-ring chemistry between these two. But Punk, though, picked up the win and emerged victorious. So that was that. Up next, Randy Orton versus Shawn Michaels. And this was kind of set up on Raw the week before, with Randy Orton just, I think, kicking Shawn Michaels in the head. He had faced Edge on Raw, Shawn Michaels, that is, and then after the matchup, Orton taking out Shawn Michaels, I think, or, after the attack it all kind of started with the attack by the Great Khali, either the night after Backlash, the week after, I don't know. He was beaten by Khali in the number one contenders match for the WWE Championship, and he was all kind of dazed by that, and the kick by Orton to the head, the punt to the head, did not help matters at all. So that set up this matchup on the pay-per-view, and when Michaels was doing a backstage interview before the matchup, earlier in the night, Orton attacked him there, so they really kind of gave Shawn Michaels every out to lose here. Be protected in defeat as well and look good in defeat without, without losing anything, pretty much like I said before. So the match did happen. Orton thought that he was going to win via forfeit. Shawn Michaels came out anyway, and despite the referee's discretion, Shawn Michaels continued the match. He wanted to go through with it. Orton pretty much just beat him up the entire time. And Shawn Michaels got some hope spots. He actually almost connected with the Sweet Chin music at one point, but he was so dazed, he was so out of it that it just didn't work, and he just fell over unconscious, and then the referee called for the bell, granting Orton the victory via knockout, and Orton, I think, attacked him afterwards anyway, and then he was stretchered out. So that kind of wrote the end of Shawn Michaels for the next 4 to 5 months, and Orton got a big rub out of this going into the summer in his WWE Championship feud with John Cena. So well done there. That it was a well booked angle. We would get the real true matches between Shawn Michaels and Orton at the later 2007 pay-per-view Cyber Sunday and later Survivor Series as well. So I thought that was well booked and gave Orton a nice little win, and also Shawn Michaels was written out of storylines logically and effectively. So I liked everything about this. Up next for the World Tag Team titles, the Hardy Boys defending against Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch in a rematch from Backlash. And it's weird because I thought I enjoyed that matchup more, and I did. The one at Backlash more so than this one. This one just kind of felt boring. It was a good match, nothing against it. It was solid, but I just wasn't really invested. Maybe, like I said, because we just saw the same exact match at Backlash the month before, and there really wasn't anything new about it. And Cade and Murdoch, instead of getting heat on themselves going into the show, based off what the commentators were saying during the matchup, that they just played the respect card, they were acting like baby faces, they wanted to do it cleanly, they didn't want to attack the Hardy Boys, and just kind of gave them that same respect level and act like baby faces going into this matchup, which is all well and good if you're a babyface tag team. But the Hardys, even if you're going to do that against the Hardys, they were so freaking over. There was no way that anyone was going to cheer for Cade and Murdoch. So in getting rid of, kind of ridding themselves of all the things that made them heels, people just didn't really care. They really didn't have any reason to think they would either win or they would, they didn't want them to win either. So it was a good match, but the crowd really wasn't into it all that much at all. Like I said, solid stuff, and the Hardys came out victorious, still the World Tag Team Champion, shaking the hands of Cade and Murdoch afterwards, and leading to their, with Cade and Murdoch ended up winning the titles a couple weeks later on Raw, after the Hardys had just gone through a vicious ladder match, I think at One Night Stand the night earlier. But, it was a good match, but I just couldn't really get into it. Maybe just because we had seen the same thing at Backlash or whatever. Maybe it just kind of went on longer than it should have. And that's the thing, too. A lot of these matches, some matches got more time than others when they shouldn't have. Like this match and the Punk and Elijah Burke match got much more time than they ever had any right to. 15, 16 minutes is a little ridiculous when the world title matches went 10 minutes and under, which was a little weird, and I'll get to that now. For the World Heavyweight Championship, Edge defending against Batista, and these two always had great ring chemistry, in-ring chemistry, and almost an exact opposite of Elijah Burke and CM Punk. They had really good matches on this show, One Night Stand and Vengeance, and a couple good matches the following year as well in 2008. And this was another case of that. They had barely just built up the match. Undertaker had just gotten injured. Edge had just cashed in the Money in the Bank, and was heading into this match of the World Heavyweight Championship against Batista. So the match was kind of thrown on the card at the last minute, so people didn't really, they weren't really invested as much as they should have, and they were by the time they faced off at One Night Stand and at Vengeance. That's good. But for their first match, people weren't really into it. But it still was a good match, and Batista was still feeling the after effects from his steel cage match with The Undertaker a couple weeks before this. So that gave Edge, that nice little advantage over Batista in this contest, and gave Batista an out for losing and setting up a rematch for the following pay-per-view. So I thought it was a good match. I enjoyed it. Good stuff. Probably one of the better matches on the show, and Edge comes out of this match still the World Heavyweight Champion, so the right result there as well. My only concern, my only gripe with the match was that it should have probably gone longer. Only got about 10 minutes. If they gave this matchup 15 minutes and the World Tag Team title match 10 minutes, I would not have complained. The other way around that we ended up getting, I thought was, weird. Giving that match a 15, then this match only 10. Felt like it should have been the other way around for some reason. I don't know. I thought this matchup could have benefited from more time as opposed to the semi-boring World Tag Team title match. Up next, a 2 out of 3 falls match for the United States Championship. MVP taking on Chris Benoit, who was the then champion at that period in time. Chris Benoit's final WWE pay-per-view. A good matchup. I really enjoyed the WrestleMania and Backlash matches. I thought this one would be the best of the 3, and it was. I would have to watch those other matches again. I haven't seen them in a couple months. But, I thought this was a good match. I didn't think it was, insanely great or anything like that. But maybe it was just because I was hoping for a little bit more. MVP ended up winning both falls. He ended up going 2-0 against Benoit. So he ended up retaining the United States Championship, or winning the United States Championship, So a big win for the newly debuted MVP against Chris Benoit. A huge win. And maybe that's what they wanted to do. I guess they were more focused on pushing MVP and giving him a huge win than they were about delivering a show-stealing match with going to the third fall, which is always predictable. It's not often that you see. Maybe I guess I appreciated that aspect of it, that you don't really see most matches end in 2 consecutive falls, so I thought that was good. And a big win for MVP, but I guess I was hoping for a little bit more, and they, like I said, with the world title match, could have used a little bit more time to be more special. And then we get to the main event for the WWE Championship. John Cena defending against the Great Khali, who at this point in time had not been pinned or submitted. And that was pretty much the premise of the match. John Cena taking on a giant that hadn't been pinned or submitted before. And we had seen it all before. It was pretty much old news at this point. And then Khali, you factor in the fact that he's not a great wrestler at all. It's pretty terrible. And John Cena, I thought we put to rest the whole speculation that John Cena is not a good wrestler. I think he's a very good wrestler, but he could deliver amazing matches when he's in there when he's in there with the right people. A Shawn Michaels, a Punk, a Bryan, etc., etc. And, Khali around this period in time when John Cena was still kind of improving his in-ring skills was not that guy. It was a very basic matchup. It was very limited. It wasn't terrible. It was just very, very lackluster. Cena tried his best to get the best match out of him that he could, but it just didn't work. It was an 8-minute matchup. John Cena, really no build-up at all, just kind of locking in the STF. Khali, who had his foot underneath the rope, which was completely ignored, but that was kind of focused on the next night on Raw to set up the rematch at the One Night Stand pay-per-view. And then that was it. John Cena made Khali tap out, and that was the end of the pay-per-view. So a very, not even a disappointing matchup. I just didn't really give a shit, and it was not a good match. It was basically what you thought it was going to be. But why they thought that should close the show, I really have no idea. I understand that Khali's big tap-out loss, or his first tap-out loss, was a big deal. But I really would have rather gone with the world title match in the main event instead, and given those guys 15, 20 minutes, not 10 minutes. Khali and Cena going 8 minutes was probably for the better, considering how terrible Khali is, but it just kind of made for a very underwhelming, I guess is the word I'm looking for, main event to a pay-per-view. So on the whole, I thought it was an okay show. It really was not great at all. There were a couple good matches. Like I said, I enjoyed Edge and Batista. I enjoyed MVP and Benoit. Orton and Michaels, I thought it was a well-booked angle. Flair and Carlito was a nice opener. But other than that, though, this was not a great show. Some matches got more time than others. The undeserving matches, I guess I should say. Punk and Elijah Burke should not have gone 16 minutes. And then the World Tag Team title match, while it was good, should not have gone 15 either. There were 2 world title matches, probably more specifically the 2 out of 3 falls match for the U.S. title and the World Heavyweight Championship matches. Those bouts should have gotten more time to be more special. And then, like I said, Punk and Elijah Burke was not really that good. Lashley and McMahon was short-lived. Short, sweet, and to the point, but it wasn't anything you should go out of your way to watch. Flair and Carlito, a good opener, and then the world title match was good too. So I would, thumb in the middle. I don't want to call this a bad show, but in comparison to some of the other Judgment Day shows, it really wasn't that good. And everything was kind of blown off the following month at the One Night Stand pay-per-view anyway, so it wasn't a must-see show because it culminated in any feuds. It was an okay show. It wasn't a drag to watch, but not a pay-per-view you should go out of your way to watch unless you love the Judgment Day pay-per-views and you want to watch all of them like I am. But not a great show. Just okay at best, I guess. Mediocre, I guess, is the word that I'm looking for to describe the show in a nutshell. So that's going to do it for my review of Judgment Day 2007. Thank you for your watching and your viewing. Always appreciate that. But in the meantime, in the between time, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe this video. Or subscribe to the channel, share the video. Always appreciated. Means a lot to me. Make sure to find me on Twitter at WrestleRant, on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. And I'll be back on Tuesday. So the day after Memorial Day, in 2 days, I guess. I'm filming this on Saturday, so I'm trying to think of when the schedule is. But yeah, I'll be back on Tuesday with my review of Judgment Day 2008, and just a brief little overview, a little run through here. Tuesday, Judgment Day 08, Saturday, Judgment Day 09, and then next Sunday, and the following Tuesday, the 2nd, which is my birthday, we'll be doing the Payback pay-per-views before moving to the Money in the Bank pay-per-views 2010 to 2014. And then moving into my reviews of SummerSlam, mid-June to all the way to August for 2 straight months. I'll be reviewing every SummerSlam pay-per-view I have not already reviewed here on the channel. So I'm very much looking forward to that. That is very exciting. Enjoy your weekend, folks. Enjoy your Memorial Day tomorrow as well. And I'll catch you guys on Tuesday.